Fallout 4 modders have been pretty busy over the past couple of weeks. It's almost at a rate where it's hard for me to keep up with these videos covering some of the latest and greatest as far as mods go. There's simply been a constant flow of great mods both on the Fallout 4 and Skyrim side of things, but today we're looking at a very specific subset of those mods that with tactical mods. Fallout 4 modding has almost always had this tactical undertone, adding in a ton of modern weaponry, and in this video I'm going to be showing you a lot of that, but also some mods that you probably haven't downloaded yet, and it's actually a little bit different, a little bit of an interesting twist on what I normally cover. If you guys enjoy the content or just want to see more in the way of Fallout 4 mods, you can leave a like or subscribe. We are approaching 500,000 subscribers, and that'd obviously be a great milestone to hit before the end of the year. But taking a look first at one of the more recently released mods, we do have ICESTORM'S tactical stuff. This is actually a perfect mod for Fallout 4. As I mentioned before, almost every week for like the past 3 years, I've covered one tactical weapon mod or another, some kind of modern firearm that a lot of people just love using in this game. Despite that, on the other side of things, as far as equipment or armors go, there simply hasn't been nearly as much content. But today we are getting a great addition to that with ICESTORM'S tactical stuff. What this is going to do is add in several new things into Fallout 4 in the way of armor pieces, this making up different portions of your character. As far as the head goes, you actually do have some night vision goggles as well as an earpiece to look like you are wearing a headset. These two are without a doubt the simplest of the bunch, but something really cool, these night vision goggles are functional. There's an aid item you can craft to place in your inventory, and then you could toggle the goggles on or off, and they will move and give you an in-game effect. You could choose for it to either have night vision or thermal vision. Moving downwards though, we also do have tactical gloves. These being pretty important because, well, they're on your hands, and since most people play this game first person, you're gonna see these pretty often. The tactical gloves look great by default, but there's several different variants and customization options on these, as you'll see throughout this entire armor pack. But then as we get to the torso, we really get to the bread and butter of this mod, that with the tactical vest. I could see a lot of people honestly just using this, or maybe just this and some of the headgear. This tactical vest just looks awesome. It looks very Fallout 4-esque. It obviously is pretty light, there's not a ton going on with it, but it looks like something that's going to fit in very well with a lot of the weapon mods we already have out there. As with the gloves, there's a myriad of different customization options for this one. You could choose from 5 different camo types, each of these actually fitting pretty well in Fallout 4. I would say if there were 5 to pick from, it would probably be these 5. And you also do have an option as far as the thickness of this vest goes. And of course, some other just armor or stat bonuses you can get on it. The final piece of this armor set will be the tactical holster. This encompasses the little belt area as well as the actual drop leg itself. This will have a couple of magazines and a holster on it itself. Through customization, you could change the color from just black to tan, but also actually have a weapon in that holster in the form of the deliverer. Taking it all together, I think one of the reasons this is such a cool mod for Fallout 4, why it will be such a popular and must download for some, is it's just so versatile. You could use any of these individual pieces just by themselves or together as a set. Again, as I mentioned, with that vest, it will work with a lot of different outfits or armor types to really complete a certain look, especially for console users. You don't have a lot in this category of the tactical armaments that you would hope for with Fallout 4, and this is on Xbox One. But maybe you're looking at this vest and you're like, I would love it on my character, but I use a snow mod or a green mod, and it doesn't have the camo I wanted specifically. We also do have the tactical vest expansion plugin. This made by a totally separate mod author, and in effect what it's going to do is add in a myriad of additional customization options for the vest itself. To be clear with this one, it only affects the vest, so it's not affecting any of the armor pieces, but in total it's going to add in 26 new customization options for this vest, a lot of which look pretty cool, and it'll pretty much fill out every customization option you could want or imagine. It's a really cool add-on, and if you download the first mod and it doesn't have exactly what you're looking for, I'm pretty confident this secondary one will. But with all this talk of modern weapons, we must include a modern weapon. So for that, by the same mod author as the tactical vest, we also do have ICESTORM'S MP5. What this is going to be is a new MP5 in Fallout 4, an item that actually hasn't really had too much representation in this game, despite its popularity in the real world, and actually even further, presence in some of the past Fallout games. It's going to work pretty typically like many other weapon mods. It has a few customization options here and there. I'm showing you most of them in the background. It's not the most customizable mod. What you see is kind of what you get, but all the major options you would hope to see are for the most part there. From there, it also does feature custom animations. They're a little bit on the slower side, at least for my taste, but they definitely look pretty good. And in combat, this definitely can be a pretty fun one to use. And to be totally frank, there's not much to say about it. This weapon mod isn't doing anything totally different or unique. What it's doing is adding in an MP5, which some people will love, other other people will be like, I'm okay with the ones I have already. If you like what you see in the background, if you feel like this will be a good addition to your game for you or one of your companions, download it. But speaking of downloads, there's some weapon mods out there that a lot of people have downloaded that almost stand in a class all on their own. But in this next little segment, I do want to show off 2 weapon mod expansion projects. So this is an interesting subcategory of Fallout mods. Mods for mods. The first one I do want to show off is the Service Rifle expansion project. I've actually talked about this once on the channel before, quite a while ago at this point, but since my initial coverage of it, we actually got quite a few updates to this, adding in a lot more to the mod and making it almost a must-use for me and one of my favorite weapon mods as of late. So put simply, what this is going to do is it's going to take the Service Rifle by Wasteland Melody, a pretty cool and interesting weapon on its own, but this mod will add in a ton of customization and attachment options for that. You'll have new receivers, new scopes, new stocks, new color types. Pretty much every category got additions somewhere, making it feel like a much more fleshed out and interesting weapon mod. If you've been watching my videos as of late, you've probably seen this one. I've been using it pretty regularly as one of the main items I carry in the background, and it's just a lot of fun. The original Service Rifle, of course, is a very high quality weapon, and all of these new attachments are pretty much right up there with that same quality level. If you consider the quality of some of these additional pieces is lower or will stand out to you, it definitely won't. Everything's pretty much on par with this one. It also is a mod to keep your eye on. It was only released this past February, and since then it's been getting consistent updates, continuously adding new and unique attachments to this weapon. Similar to the Service Rifle expansion project, we also do have the RU556 Armoury project. This is effectively the exact same concept, the RU556 probably being the most popular weapon mod in all of Fallout 4. What this mod's going to do is add in additional attachments to it. It's definitely not as large or comprehensive as SREP, but it actually takes a little bit of a different approach. The Armoury project really has a focus on adding in additional weapon systems, that being in the form of receivers as well as barrel types. So you can large in part actually make the RU556 look and feel like something different, whether that be an HK416 or something along the lines of a SIG MCX. A lot of these are pretty cool. They are also in a very similar vein to some of the vanilla options for the RU556, but also having more options is almost never a bad thing. What this doesn't do is add a ton in the way of scopes, but considering the RU556 already has so many different scope options, this really wasn't all that much of a downside. It's another one where there's really not a ton to say. If you're already using the RU556, I'd say this is just a good addition. You add it and it works almost seamlessly with your existing game and just gives you more customizability on a weapon mod you're already using. But last but not least, with something a little bit different, we also do have real throwing weapons. This is a really cool mod, and in effect, what it's going to do is add in a myriad of different throwing weapons into Fallout 4. There have been several weapon mods to do this or attempt this in the past, but this mod actually has one big difference compared to them. So first and foremost, of course, this is going to add in a ton of both lore-friendly and just kind of funny weapons into Fallout 4. These all being in the throwing category. You throw tomahawks, fidget spinners, and even odd things like pies if you wanted to go that route, but something you'll quickly notice, this has functionality that if you have Fallout 4 script extender installed, after throwing an item, it'll actually slow time for a brief duration, as well as gives you a little crosshair. Unlike in past games, the way Fallout 4 handles throwing weapons, you can't actually use them in VATS, even though that is a very useful and cool functionality. This is meant to really be that middle ground, basically giving you a small bullet time when throwing a weapon to just make it a little bit easier to aim them, because of course sometimes it can get pretty frustrating or difficult to hit these on target. They're a lot of fun. Some of these are obviously more powerful than others. Some of them are just funny and unique to use. One of the particularly cool ones are the thunder sticks from Mad Max that do create a pretty cool explosion effect upon landing. And just overall, if you're looking to flesh out this category of weapons in Fallout 4, this is probably the mod you're going to want to download. So that's large in part going to wrap it up for this video. But of course, before we end things off, I do want to share today's psychology fun fact of the day. And this one's almost a little bit more pseudoscience, that it sometimes is super relevant and super true, other times maybe not so much, but just a guiding principle, something pretty interesting or interesting phenomenon that you go through. I would argue every single one of you listening has experienced this, is a gut feeling. It's like maybe you see someone, you just immediately have a bad feeling about them. Maybe you're taking a test and you're like, hey, I think it's that answer, but you can't really put your finger on why. You just have this feeling that this is the right or wrong thing. This actually has a pretty interesting scientific background. Sometimes it's just flat out wrong. You might think you remember something or think you recognize something, but you don't, and you're just totally misleading yourself. But this isn't true all the time. So as you probably heard, we do have a conscious and an unconscious. Put fairly simply, the conscious is what we're aware of and know day to day. The unconscious has influences on the conscious, influences on our own actions, but we're not consciously aware of it. Sometimes you could bring things from the unconscious to the conscious, but large in part, the reason it's relevant here is the unconscious can influence your conscious. And well, that is what a gut feeling sometimes can be. A good rule of thumb while taking a test, specifically multiple choices, let's say you go to the next question, you realize I don't really know any of the answers, but maybe this one feels like it might be right. It's often good to go with that immediate gut feeling. Our recognition memory is better than our recall memory, meaning that you might have recognized something in that question that triggered a relatively weak memory that you held in your brain, and that's why it felt good at first. But then if you think about the question, you might try and logically come to a different conclusion. Even further, even outside of that, let's say you just see someone, you have a bad feeling about them. There have been studies that have shown that sometimes this isn't because of a totally random feeling, but maybe in the past you saw something, or you saw something out of the corner of your eye or in your periphery that didn't necessarily make its way into your conscious, but now you have unconscious forces actually influencing you. So again, to be clear with this one, it's not always the case. Sometimes it is totally unscientific, but other times it's not. Sometimes the reason you have a certain gut feeling is because your brain is actually recognizing something, whether it be a pattern or something it noticed in the past, and it's almost trying to tell you that in a way. I have a couple of links around this down below. It's actually a really interesting topic to just read about, but either way, with all that being said, as always, again, I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.